Well, we have new data now from the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and it shows the problem is growing in areas that have Democrat leadership, particularly Charlotte, North Carolina. The head of nonprofits that combat human trafficking in Charlotte, one of them spoke to Fox Digital.
Really is kind of like a perfect storm. There are a lot of variables. I mean, one of the things that we have to know is that trafficking happens everywhere. And so it happens in every city and every town, whether you're rural, whether you're city, it really doesn't matter. But for Charlotte, one of the things is that we have a lot of factors that attract a demand. Things like international airports, all of our interstates, you can get to California, you can get to New York, you can get to Florida. We have major sports teams. All of those things are drawing people who are coming and have disposable income. They're having a good time. We also are the second largest banking industry, second only to New York. And so you've got people coming in for business and then leaving.
A private investigation firm in the area says gangs with extensive resources are making the problem worse. It's also talked with Fox Digital, and here's a quote. The Bloods have a huge stronghold in human trafficking. They're one of the primary organized crime groups responsible for trafficking in Charlotte, end of quote. Boy, I haven't heard the Bloods, the Crips, all that in many years.
Yeah, I mean, the trafficking has gotten out of control. And one thing, you know, it's really interesting, too, particularly about these kind of Democrat-run cities, is that, look, they can basically barely handle basic crime. I mean, stopping crime in their own cities. The idea that they're going to be able to stand up to some of these major, sophisticated, you know, sex trafficking networks is a concern to many. So I think we've got to make sure to get more resources. One thing that's very heartening for me are the local organizations that have really stood up to help and assist law enforcement with ending this kind of surge that we've seen recently. I've read a lot about this too, just being from Atlanta, where unfortunately the Atlanta airport, the world's busiest airport, there's a lot of human trafficking. Hartsfield-Jackson, where I was just going through last night, where there's a lot of sex trafficking that happens there. And it's important that a lot of local organizations come together and end the demand for it. And a lot of that comes to us men, making sure that we end the demand for human trafficking that is going through our country. But there's also organizations, one's called Men Opposed to Sex Trafficking, a lot of veterans and former law enforcement officers who are helping law enforcement get tips, you know, and be able to track these guys down. It's led by a friend of mine named Bruce Deal, and he does a great work. And I think organizations like that are making an impact.
It's interesting because that is a huge help. That's such a critical component of all of this, but it's the soft on crime laws too. The recidivism among these people, even when they do catch them, they're put right back out. You were talking about, you know, soft on crime policies and Democrat-led. Lisa.
Well, we also know that illegal immigration is a huge contributor to this as well. It sort of creates this perfect storm of issues where you have a lot of these people who come to the United States, they pay these cartels, there's a debt that needs to be paid, and sometimes that has to be paid through sex trafficking, or also what we've seen in the United States with forced labor as well. I mean, you can even go back to that July 2024 raid in Southern California, those 2 marijuana farms, and there's 360 undocumented workers. You had migrant children as young as 14 with concerns of potential forced labor, and one of the individuals that was taken into custody was a convicted child sex trafficker. And then you can go back to 2024 with that DHS Inspector General report, and there was almost 300,000 children, which they couldn't really track. Right. And so there's a huge concern that those children are going to fall into some of these terrible conditions. So it is a tragedy, and, you know, we should all care about, you know, protecting these people.
Marie.
I mean, it's the one issue that is still quite bipartisan, actually, is fighting sex trafficking. Tomorrow we're going to get a vote in the House of Representatives that will be incredibly bipartisan, with dozens of Republicans joining Democrats, I think, to release the Epstein files, which is at heart about child sex trafficking. That is the one issue the House can agree on right now, which is shocking. And look, a lot of the things that woman mentioned were just characteristics of Charlotte: highways, airports close to Atlanta, sporting events. So given those conditions, how can local leaders do more to combat this? I think Charlotte and some of these organizations and local leaders have some initiatives that they're really trying to use. But as long as there is this demand, I'm glad you talked about the demand. As long as there is this demand, this is going to be a problem. And I will be very happy to see the United States Congress tomorrow say we want all the documents about our nation's most notorious child sex trafficker.
And as the only guy here, I'll say it is on men to end the demand for this nonsense and the horrible effect on children. And so I think men specifically need to lead the way on this issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One thing, I'll point out, 48% of those in Charlotte who they found as victims of sex trafficking were under the age of 15. A lot of this starts online. They said digital grooming. It can be someone you know, it can be an uncle, it can be a coach, it can be someone in your school. And Lisa, you're exactly right to talk about this in the context of illegal immigration. I covered this week reporting from Brooke Taylor that is heartbreaking. 450,000 children were placed with unvetted sponsors during the Biden administration. The Trump administration's trying to do welfare checks. They found 24,400 of these children. Let me just quickly tell you one story. One was a 1-year-old girl crossed into the United States during the Obama administration. She's now 12 years old. For 11 years, she endured horrifying abuse. Physically, they found her with zip ties, sexual abuse. It is heartbreaking. She is now a 12-year-old girl that they have rescued, and they just arrested on Friday one of the uncles who was abusing her during that time. It is so important not to forget the stories of these children, unaccompanied minors. They are victims. We need to tell their stories. We need to keep a focus on it because I believe, to your point, they are some of the victims of this trafficking.
Yeah, and the 2 times I have seen the border czar, Tom Homan, tear up on the Faulkner Focus. You saw him, tears down his cheeks. We're talking about those 300,000 minors who came across the border illegally and vanished. And they were part of some sort of system he knows from experience, sex trafficking, forced labor, that sort of thing. And he said he'll spend the rest of time looking for them. Yeah.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.